What's up, ladies and genitals? Welcome back to my second channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to stop being addicted to people who hurt you, how to let them go, and to finally choose yourself and move on. So we're going to be talking about the neuroscience behind this and the psychology, and then create an action plan for you. So let's actually talk about why you probably struggle to let people go. Ultimately, it comes down to your childhood and your attachment style. Secure people can let people go. They understand healthy attachments. They understand that people come and go as well. If you're anxious attachment, likely it can feel like death for you to let someone go. It can also feel like failure. But an avoidant probably hasn't even formed that bond with you and never let you in. So it might be very easy for them to let that bond go because they never even let you in to begin with. So number one, the people who hurt you the most, they are usually putting you on some type of variable intermittent reinforcement schedule where maybe one day they're very hot to you, then they're cold, they're nice, then they're not nice, and you never know what you're going to get. It's the same mechanism that Instagram uses. Did you know that Instagram actually sends likes at random times? So Mark could have liked your photo at 3 o'clock and Instagram said he liked it at 3:05 because it's trying to create this act of uncertainty which is going to make your brain addicted to it. Casino slot machines use that as well. When you never know when someone's going to text you next or what you're going to wake up and get, your brain will get addicted to them. And this is cruel. 2, rejection activates the same brain regions as a cocaine craving. Hear this. Helen Fisher's fMRI study scanned people who had just been rejected by a partner that they loved. The ventral tegmental area, nucleus accumbens, and the orbitofrontal cortex, which is the brain's reward and craving circuits, lit up in patterns nearly identical to cocaine withdrawal. So you're not weak, you're just chemically dependent on them. And when you're rejected, especially if you're not secure attachment, it probably reminds you of rejection in your childhood, which is why you might be showing up even more for that person. They're rejecting you and pushing you away, and you start to perform a song and dance for them even more because you're hoping that they're not going to reject you again and that you can prove to yourself that you are worthy of being chosen and loved. That's actually the root of it. You just want to be chosen, loved, and accepted because you probably never were before. If someone, especially someone who's been very hot and cold, they've actually shown you love and acceptance at one point and then they switch back to cold, you perform it even more naturally because you're trying to get that back. And actually, someone who does this to you can turn a secure person into an anxious person. Okay, early stage obsessive love actually has the same serotonin profile of someone with OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. Intrusive thoughts about a person aren't romantic. They're a neurochemical signature of dysregulation. When your partner is being unavailable to you and pushing you away, get this, you'll then have elevated amygdala activation, which is the fear center of the brain, and elevated HPA axis dysregulation. So when someone's pulling away from you, you actually will feel that distance as being a threat to you. So when you walk away, it feels like dying. Oxytocin does not discriminate between healthy and toxic bonds. Oxytocin released during physical intimacy is going to bond you no matter what. So actually, if you're having intimacy with someone who's not good for you, it's going to intensify your bond with them even stronger, which is going to mask the negatives about that person. And this is why I always say, and research backs this up, ladies, you should never sleep with a man during the first 3 months of dating him because you don't know that person yet. And it's not like just about, oh, this is a game and men just want sex, so I need to prove whatever. No, it's because it's going to confuse you. You're not going to see things clearly. If you sleep with him early on and you don't even like him that much, or you do like him but you can't really see the bad things about him yet, this is going to be masked even more. Also, you might say, oh, well, if I don't sleep with him, he's going to leave me. That's kind of what you want because you want a guy who doesn't want you for your body. And if he leaves you, good. I literally have a guy friend. He said to me, it's date 3. I need to sleep with my date now. She doesn't want to. And I said, dude, it's date 3. Like, wait 3 months. And he said, no, date 3 is my cutoff date. And I know this guy doesn't want marriage or anything, or he doesn't want anything that serious. So that girl's actually winning because he's going to walk away. Now it's going to hurt her and she'll be like, wow, what's wrong with me? Girl, like nothing is wrong with you. You actually just weeded out someone who won't be good for you because he just wants to sleep with you. But having early on intimacy is going to cloud your judgment so much. I remember my first boyfriend when I was younger. I honestly didn't like him that much, that every time we were intimate, I would suddenly like him more, because that intimacy would bond me to him. And then my judgment will get clouded again. Okay, cognitive dissonance is going to make you defend yourself. So the longer you've stayed with them and you've justified the reasons why you're staying with them, the more difficult it's going to be for you to leave, because you've already done this for so long that your brain would be like, why would I leave now? Because I've been with him for 2 years and Your brain will make up all these other excuses. And guys, there are so many more points that we can talk about, the brain mechanisms, the psychology and neuroscience behind attachment and whatever, but you have to know that you are not a weak person. This is your brain doing it to you. Unfortunately, it's just going to take a lot of willpower to get through this. So let's create a plan now for how we can walk away from people who are not good for us. Number one, you need to realize the core wound, and I will take a guess that the core wound is that you do not feel loved and chosen, and that you never were loved and chosen. So by staying with them, or by keeping these people in your life, you're just trying to prove to yourself that you are worthy still, and that you're hoping they will eventually see your worth through your performance, and then they will choose to stay. But you need to know that every time you choose to stay with that person or keep that person in your life, you are not choosing yourself. You don't have to stand here and perform and wait for someone to choose you. You can choose yourself by walking away. That is the biggest lesson, and it is something that I've also had to do, which is why I talk about this from experience. I know what it's like to even subconsciously have to perform for approval, and then realize that this whole time you were seeking a love outside of yourself, when that love and acceptance was always within you to begin with. It's a cliche, but it's true. So name the addiction out loud. If you just left someone, you need to say, I'm in withdrawal from them. It's literally like a drug withdrawal in your brain, and you know that you're going to get through this. And I really, really recommend working with a therapist for this, because this work is deep and it's difficult. Even myself, with everything I know, I feel like all the time something new comes up, and I find a new layer to myself that I didn't know before. I'm like, wow, I've discovered everything up, something else comes up. It's honestly exciting. At the same time, it is terrifying to realize these things about yourself. Exciting because you're like, wow, I'm so grateful that now I notice this pattern in myself, I can change it, and I won't actually have to go through this situation again, because I would choose differently next time. And it's terrifying because now you know that you have to do the work, but it's so much easier to actually know where to begin with the work if you have a therapist and someone who's there to guide you. So I really recommend my paid partner today, BetterHelp. Thank you to BetterHelp for working with me today on this video and supporting my channel. BetterHelp is the #1 therapy platform online. It is super easy to get started. All you need to do is fill out an online questionnaire, and usually within a couple of days, they will pair you with a therapist that they think is right for you. If you don't think this therapist is right for you, because therapy is like dating, if you don't like them, you can change free of charge. It is super easy to do, and you can actually scroll through and read the therapist profiles to find someone new that you think you will be a match with. And if you don't like them, just switch again. That is something you cannot do with in-person therapy. You gotta go to a doctor, get a new referral, go to the clinic, wait there. It's time consuming, and I think especially if you're having some mental difficulties, having to go through that whole process and drive to the therapist is such a big obstacle in itself that you might not even want to go. While with BetterHelp, it's online, you can call, you can text, you can video chat. It's easy and it's super convenient, and it's in the comfort of your own home. So join over 6 million people who are using BetterHelp to better themselves today, earning them a 4.8 star rating out of 5 on the App Store. So go to my link today to get 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp. Guys, I'm gonna give you some more interesting points. Did you know that the need to be chosen is actually rooted in survival? Because 200,000 years ago, if you weren't chosen, it meant you're gonna die because you had to be in a tribe. Social rejection lights up the same areas of physical pain in the brain. So when we're performing for acceptance, it's actually our brain trying to prevent that pain and injury. Performing for acceptance is a learned trauma response, especially in people who have CPTSD. We have 3 trauma responses, which is fight, flight, and freeze. With people with CPTSD, there's a 4th, which is called fawning, that you learn as a child. It develops in children who learned that being useful, impressive, or agreeable was the only way to get attention and affection, and to secure connection from an inconsistent parent. So if you're 30 years old and you're still performing for people who only half accept you, it's likely that as a child you have learned that you need to be useful and you have to provide value to the world. You have learned that you cannot just simply exist. Self-concept is built from other people's appraisals onto you, so actually how you feel about yourself can just be a mirror of someone else. So if you're getting rid of them, it can feel like you're getting rid of your identity as well. So how do we get over it? Number one, name what you're actually chasing. Going back earlier, I said you're chasing to feel loved, accepted, chosen, valuable, worthy. And if you can start to choose yourself every day, even in small ways, you will over time rewire how you feel about yourself. 2, audit who you are performing for and the reason why you're performing. But as an adult, you can remind yourself that you are worthy no matter what. Even if you're achieving nothing, you're still worthy of love, especially from yourself. Withdraw the performance, but you don't always have to withdraw from the actual person as well. You just have to set boundaries for yourself, which means I'm not going to over-explain anymore why I did something. I'm going to stop strategically posting on my Instagram stories. I'm going to stop the extra effort. I'm going to stop laughing at jokes that are not funny or at my expense. I'm going to stop arguing with people who clearly don't give a fuck. And you'll see that the people who wanted you to perform and will no longer accept this non-performing version of yourself will fade. Because of your attachment issues, you likely will want to go chase them and start to perform again and do your little dance. You know this Jester meme? I always think of that. You will want to go and do that because it feels like your identity is falling away now. But that's when you shouldn't. That is when you'll see who your real friends are. So in a nutshell, how do we walk away from people who hurt us? It is to choose yourself. It is to understand what the core root is and figure out how you can give that to yourself. And to also be easier on yourself knowing that it is your brain screwing you over. It's not just you being a weak, worthless person. Even when you see people like me or other self-development YouTubers or other even neuroscientists, psychologists, just because we're telling you this information doesn't make us some immune super being, because life will humble you. I'm telling you, I will go through a situation, and even given everything I know, I say to myself, I cannot believe my brain is doing this to me, because it really shows some things are just kind of out of your control. Like your brain is just going to take over and make you addicted. And then there would be a video like, oh, just detach. And you're like, well, I can't detach because my brain is actually making me addicted to it. But that's why if you're very familiar with psychology and neuroscience, you can kind of get ahead of this. For example, in my breakup videos, I talk about how if you want to get over the breakup sooner, cry for a few weeks, but don't let it go on longer. If you detach immediately and you just push it down, that will come up later on. So we can get ahead of our brain, but you just have to be knowledgeable, and then you have to be disciplined within that window you have where you can kind of rewire your brain. Otherwise, it will be a bit harder later on. So for example, it's never impossible to get over someone. There's people who get over their first love like 8 years later. It just means it's going to be more difficult 8 years later than it will be in the first 2 months of a breakup. But guess what, guys? That's why you have me. That's why you have this YouTube channel and my main channel. Yeah, I've been rambling on a lot here, but I love you guys and I will see you next time. Ich liebe dich. Tschüss.